So much, Kian. Appreciate all the coverage from the frozen water for this Irish team. And then we got a big team this year, and that's our men's lacrosse team. They won a national championship in Philly, and they returned back a lot of the pillars here. And they look to turn on two brothers in the Kavanaughs who were absolutely electrifying last year and have already brought it this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Notre Dame lacrosse team that brings back as much as you could want. You know, Chris Kavanaugh, Pat Kavanaugh, they're dynamic. It's really fascinating to watch because Chris, much more of the scorer. He creates goals. He finishes off goals, where Pat kind of creates them. You can see they don't really, the dynamic between them, the passing, the ability to create chances for each other is really fun to watch. And they're not the only pieces of this Irish team. That's the most exciting part. They've got two of the most impressive players in the ACC on the attack line, and they're not just the entire attack.
No.
They're pieces to an entire attack that keeps on producing well. And we're going to, let me get a shout out, Wally, before I forget, to Liam Entenmann in goal, one of the best in the business. They've got him back for a 5th year. The talent on this team is just off the charts.
It's off the charts in any way you look at it. But we said we weren't going to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it because I think it's necessary. Jordan Faison, who had a great year for the football team as a scholarship receiver, scores the opening goal of this season and hits a hat trick. Jordan Faison's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, in case you didn't read about it in any of the other 28 outlets that covered this story, Jordan Faison is also good at lacrosse, in addition to being very good at football. Hat-trick first game, first goal of the season, 40 seconds in. But I'm going to pivot again. Because,
pivot.
Again, we've talked about Jordan Faison enough, but let's talk about Eric Dobson a little bit.
Yes.
Not the only great midfielder is Jordan Faison.
No.
Eric Dobson, one of perhaps the best midfielders in the country. I say one of, maybe even the best, period. 34 goals, 11 assists last year, and his production might only improve this year as Notre Dame brings back so much talent. Jake Taylor, another player I want to give a shout out to. You know, 5 goals in that opening game. It's Cleveland State, granted, so you know you never want to take too much away from a game in which the team's just running away from it. But I think Jake Taylor could be primed for a really, really big year as another weapon in that Notre Dame attack.
Jake Taylor, preseason All-ACC, as well with Dobson, preseason USA Lacrosse Midfielder of the Year. But now, this is a team that we talked about. They have what Kevin Corrigan calls the back-to-back. He has that. They have the potential. What do you see happens?
Yeah, there's a mentality element to it, and Corrigan's kind of talked about this. The difference between being the hunter and being the hunted is very different. Notre Dame entered with a chip on their shoulder in 2022. They had never, 2023 rather, they had never won a national title. Now they have it. Now everyone wants them. They're the consensus number one. They're the team that everyone wants to knock off. Last year, Notre Dame was kind of, I wouldn't say they were underdogs by any means, but they were the team that had never won one. They've got one now, and everyone knows who they are, what their strengths are, what their potential weaknesses are, and everyone wants to beat them. There is a mentality shift that will need to occur, and I think from what we have seen from Kevin Corrigan over his time at Notre Dame is we can trust that that shift will occur, that the team needs to, you know, take a new position on how they approach these games, how they approach preparing, how they understand what the opponent thinks of them. And this is a team that brings back a lot. I think their experience will be a big boost, especially in a very, very deep ACC. Can't really talk enough about how the ACC challenges this Irish team. I don't think they go undefeated just because that ACC is deep. You know, they'll play Virginia on the road. They'll play Duke on the road. And no one tell Michigan's head coach this. The ACC is the best lacrosse conference in the country. And Notre Dame, you see here, they go to Syracuse, or they play Syracuse at home, I believe, but they're going to go to Duke, they're going to go to Virginia, and then they got Maryland out of conference. That is, for those of you keeping score at home, Notre Dame's number one. That is every other team in the top 5 on this Notre Dame schedule, and it's not a long schedule. No, this is like 1/3 of their entire schedule that they will be playing against top 5 teams. I don't know if they're going to go undefeated, but I do think all these top-tier games, especially the ones on the road in tough environments, is going to make this team stronger come May. Because remember last year against Virginia, Notre Dame lost to Virginia at home. It was a loss that Notre Dame, I don't think, was maybe expecting, because they had momentum going into the game. It felt like this was the time they were going to knock off Virginia. It wasn't the time. But when they played Virginia in the national semifinal, a couple months later, Notre Dame did have that extra energy. They had that extra spark. They had been there before. So you're not going to win every one of these tough games. I think that's a fact of the matter. It's just how it is playing in a very deep ACC. But once you hit the national tournament, those are the games where you have to dig deep, where sometimes you have to face a lot of adversity, where it's only going to benefit you. And I think we saw it last year when Notre Dame lost to Virginia in the regular season. It was a game that Notre Dame thought they could make a statement home. They didn't win. But then when they played Virginia in the national semifinal, when with trip to the national title game on the line, they exercised their demons, they got the win, and eventually they went on to win the Natty.
Exactly. They have Grace Hall lit up as number 1 all the way till Memorial Day weekend. It should be an interesting season for this program. We also got some interesting trivia coming up. Jake Miller wrote the questions. We'll do some junior trivia on the other side. This is Shamrock Sports on NDTV.